Well, good morning, Liberal Kansas, Southwest Kansas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and all other places where you tune in to get your news and views from the middle of America. Throw with the leader in times, and today not only are we coming at you live on Facebook, live on Facebook, but we're also, for the first time, streaming live on our YouTube channel, Leader and Time. So if you prefer to watch the show on your television set and you have a smart TV, just go to your YouTube app, go to the Leader and Times channel, and you'll find us there live every morning, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. So trying to expand the show, expand the audience, give you more options on how you can watch it. You don't just have to watch it on your phone or on your desktop or laptop. You can watch it now on your television set. So help us get the word out on that. Make sure if you do go over there, you like it, you click it with your family and friends, follow us over there, and we'll continue to work to enhance and improve the show as we move along. But we're glad to be on a new platform this morning.
We've been working on that for a while.
Yep, and just part of the enhancements and improvements we continue to do here for the High Plains News Today. I've been checking on some seating in here. I missed out on one set of chairs, so I'm going to have to try for another set. And one set said, you know, there's no shipping options in your town. That really burned me. Like, everyone keeps talking about our highways and rail and air and everything else, and I can't get chairs delivered here. But we'll keep working on what we can do to enhance it and make it better for you. And
I bet we could go get them.
Well,
I bet we could get out of town and go get them.
Depending on where, I would be willing to entertain that, you know, but it's amazing on chairs. There's a wide variety of prices, I can tell you that, and doing a little research on that.
Yeah,
so I find a decent deal, and I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And then it says, you know, so put in your delivery address. So I do that, and it says, there's no delivery option to your area. That's crazy.
That's funny. UPS and FedEx and all those guys find their way here every day.
Yeah.
You know, from all over everywhere.
I had an event at the high school yesterday. I was going there to visit with them on a panel, and they were getting stuff in for the next year. And I looked in the back of the office, and there were a bunch of smiley boxes, you know, had those Amazon boxes, you know, it was just tons of them. Like, oh, someone's got a lot of work to do before school, getting all that stuff ready. So. But we wanted to let you know you can switch over to the YouTube platform if you prefer that. Like I say, we just started the channel, so you might even be follower number 1 if you go over there and follow us on YouTube. And the reason I like that option is because you can watch it on your television if you have a smart TV, and so you can set in your living room.
My TV is a lot smarter than I am sometimes.
Well, they designed them that way.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they're not designed for an old guy like me. I'll guarantee you that.
And I'm glad that they do that. So I want to bring that to your attention. Also, last night the BJs played their last road game of the season. They went to Great Bend and got an 18-10 win. So they split the 2-game series with Great Bend. They'll be back home tonight at 7 o'clock for the home finale with the Dodge City A's. So you want to get out to BJ's game tonight at Brent Gold Field at 7 o'clock. And I believe you said Equity Bank is the sponsor tonight?
I believe so, yeah.
So come on out to that. Last chance to see them here in Liberal before they move on to Wichita.
And you also get to see a local boy pitch tonight.
Oh, local boys pitching?
Brooks is pitching tonight.
Who?
Brooks Kappelman.
Oh, so Brooks Kappelman will be on the mound tonight. Nice to see one of our locals, a high school player, get to do that. You know, the last one that played for the BJs, I believe, was Braxton Hyde. And before that, it was Cole Evans. So we do have a little modern era history of having some actual liberal high school players on the team. I just want to share a little bit about the way that they're doing the national tournament this year. There's 16 teams, and they're divided into 4 pools, Pool A, B, C, and D. and everyone's going to play everybody in the pool, so you're guaranteed those 3 games. And then only the last place team is eliminated out of each pool. And the top 3 teams, so 12 teams in, move on to a single elimination bracket. And the way that they do that is the winner of each pool will get a bye, and then the other 2 teams from each pool will be blended to play a single elimination game. That'll get it to 8. And then, of course, then it goes 8-4-2 champion. But I do want to share these pools. So in Pool A, you have the Denver Cougars, the Jayhawk League number 2, which I guess we'll find out probably in a day or two. It's competitive, so we don't know who their second place team is yet. I want to talk about them being called the Jayhawk League, by the way, because that sets me off. And then Lone Star Baseball Club, and then the SC Blues. And I'm not sure if that's Scott City Blues or who that SC Blues, but they're a 19U team. So I'm going to come back to Pool A, but you don't recognize any names in there very much, I know. Let's hold that. Let's look at Pool B. Now look at Pool B. You got the Great Bend Batcats, the Lone Star Kraken, they've been to the NBC, the Sandlot Tulsa, they've been to the NBC, and the Santa Barbara Foresters, the defending national champions. So, you know, Great Bend Batcats are probably going to be from, unless there's something that happens unusual with the others, be the one to challenge the Foresters. But that bracket's, you know, got some familiarity to it, whereas Pool A, you know, there's just not a lot of success at the national tournament or anything out of that bracket at all. Yet 3 of those teams are going to move on. Go to Pool C, the Arlington Texas Baptist, the Liberal BJs, the Metro Summer Collegiate League, so I'm not sure who that team is going to be, and then the Seattle Studs. So you've got 2 perennial powerhouses in the NBC, the BJs and the Studs, in that bracket. And not only in that bracket, they're going to play the first game of the tournament against each other. Thursday, August 3rd at 6 o'clock, Liberal BJs versus the Seattle Studs. Now, I think we did a little research earlier, and this may not be the best record of the Seattle Studs coming in. They're usually the champion of their league. They weren't this year. The Seattle Blackfins were, and they're in Pool D. So let me give you the Pool D, and then we'll look at these. But in Pool D, you got the GPS Legends, the Hayes Larks, Jayhawk League number 3, and the Seattle Blackfins. Now, the Seattle Blackfins coming in as the champions of that Pacific International League, and the Hayes Larks, last year's runners-up. So again, you've got 2, you know, very strong teams facing off in Pool D. You got 2 very strong teams, historic teams in Pool C with the BJs and the Studs. You got the Foresters and Batcats in Pool B, and in Pool A, you've got no tradition or history really whatsoever. The Denver Cougars have been there before, but they really have not shown out at the NBC tournament. So, I mean, I'm a Jayhawk fan, so I complain about brackets all the time. We always get hosed on the brackets, it seemed like, in the national tournament. But this, I don't know. I don't know who I mean, the NBC people are really good at baseball, and they're really good at this tournament. But I just, the pairings in the bracket, I think they could have split up Pool A and Pool C, or even, you know, why have 2 powerhouses? There's 6 powerhouses, and you face them off in Pool B, C, and D, and there's no powerhouses in Pool A. I know this may not be your wheelhouse, but.
Well, you know, I don't know. Apparently they had a method to their madness, so we'll see. It might surprise everybody.
It would have to surprise me, because I just don't like that 3 of those teams that have little to no history at all in the tournament are going to be in at least bracket play. And the chances are all 6 of the teams I mentioned will be in bracket play. But B, I don't know, you're on the board. Was there any immediate reaction or anything from the board on where the BJs got placed in the bracket or the pool?
Well, I haven't talked to anybody since the bracket came out, so I don't know what everybody was feeling. I think maybe there might have been 1 or 2 that were probably had the same feeling you did, that we got hosed a little bit. That's kind of strange. We'd start out with Seattle, but that's the way sometimes when they pick those brackets, you got to wonder what they're looking at, what they're looking at as far as stats or locations, and then sometimes it's just a matter of trying to get people to the tournament so they maybe take some surprise picks. So I'm sure there's probably teams that they wanted to come that maybe declined to go. That happens every year, so it's hard to say. I mean, what their thought process was, but I think we did get a little bit hosed. But we've played some good games this year, so we as long as you're playing, you got a chance.
Yeah, and we took a look at that league. B looked up on his phone, and the Everett Merchants actually are listed as if they're first place,
Yeah.
and that's 2023, right?
Right.
So, we've heard of them before. They've been to the national tournament before, and they've done well. They're not even coming. So I don't know if they declined. They just didn't have the sometimes teams just don't have the finances to make it. So the Blackfins are coming as the champion of that league, and according to the record you saw, the Studs were like 20-19
Yeah.
as far as what's on the deal. So, maybe this isn't the strongest Studs team in recent memory. I don't know. But I do know once you qualify for the tournament, then you can pull players. So if there were players on that Everett Merchant team that's not going,
Yeah, they grab players from there.
yeah. The Blackfins or the Studs could have both said, hey, well, we'll add you on. If you got some great pitching or whatever. Obviously, they were the league champs, the Everett Merchants.
They had something going on.
Something's going on, So, and the other thing I want to mention is, I think, did Great Bend win the Jayhawk League then? They were the Jayhawk League champions.
Right.
First of all, that is not the same Jayhawk League that we were part of since 1976. That's when the Jayhawk League was founded. We were part of the Jayhawk League until just 3 or 4 years ago, when basically the league completely imploded, when all of the East Side teams backed out of the league. And they all went to the Walter Johnson League or the Kansas Collegiate Baseball League. They all over there jumped out and left Dodge, Liberal, and Hayes by themselves. So I think one year, the COVID year, we played independent. We didn't even play in the league. Mm-hmm. And Hayes jumped over into the Rocky Mountain League. So the next year, we jumped into the KCBL League for a year. And I believe won it. And then we jumped over into the Rocky Mountain League because it was closer to where we are and that. And then somehow, these teams that were in the KCBL League co-opt the name the Jayhawk Intercollegiate Baseball League or whatever they're trying to they just modified it a little bit. But that really perturbs me because the history of the Jayhawk League could have continued if those teams would have stayed and been willing to come out west and play Hayes and Liberal and Dodge, but that's too far for us. We can't travel that far. But boy, they didn't have a problem with us traveling to Wichita or Great Bend, or we used to travel to Clarinda, Iowa. We used to travel to Joplin to play baseball games. And these guys can't organize and raise funds to travel with their team. That's supposed to be our fault. So they kill our league and then come back later and steal the name, just by modifying it a little bit to, I guess, pass legal muster. But am I the only one that's a little perturbed that they call themselves the Jayhawk League now? Because on the listing here, they don't list it as Jayhawk Collegiate or whatever. They just say Jayhawk League on the on the NBC. Jayhawk 1, Jayhawk 2, Jayhawk 3, whatever. And I think they're trying to claim the history of that name without having to do the work it took for the teams like the BJs and the Hayes Larks to go and win a ton of games at the national tournament, 5 national championships here in Liberal as a Jayhawk League representative for most of that. Am I missing something here?
Well, I know you're not the only one that's upset. There's a lot of folks that have been around the BJ organization for years that have been upset about the Jayhawk name being used by other teams when the BJs aren't in it. So, yeah, you're not alone, and there's plenty of people that are upset about it. So,
but that is what it is. Now we have to be in the Rocky Mountain League. I can't even see a mountain from here, but we're in the Rocky Mountain League, and we've either won it or we've been the runner-up now. In the 3 years we've been in it, I think 2 league titles and 1 league runner-up title here this year. So we'll go compete at the national tournament, and that's been, obviously we're the winningest team in the history of that tournament. I think 200 wins or so. That's a testament to the program. Long term. But I'm telling you, the old favorites, Santa Barbara Foresters, Seattle Studs, Hayes has yet to win a national championship, but they've been in that game several times. They just cannot win it, but they've played for it a lot. We finished, I think we have 7 second place finishes, so we have 12 NBC championship game appearances. And they have quite a few, but they don't have a title. But they're still a perennial powerhouse. The Bat Cats come in with, they're starting to develop up a little bit of a program in Great Bend, and I hope they're able to continue that. But this Denver Cougars, Jayhawk League number 2, Lone Star Baseball Club, and SC Blues, come on, guys. You could have split it up a little bit better than to put those 4 in one pool to guarantee 3 of those teams make it. So. Anyway, that's the way it falls, and I want to reiterate that we start on the 3rd, Thursday the 3rd at 6 p.m. That's next Thursday, BJ's versus the Seattle Studs. And I bet you that has the strongest attendance of the day in that game. Let's see, the other games that day at 3 o'clock, you'll have the SC Blues versus the Lone Star Baseball Club, be empty stadium for that. At 8:30, you'll have the Denver Cougars versus the Jayhawk number 2. Probably have some people at that, depending on who Jayhawk number 2 ends up being. At noon that day, to start it, you'll have Arlington, Texas Baptist versus the Metro Summer Collegiate League. So, so the 6 o'clock game, the BJ Seattle Studs, is going to be the game of the day right there. On the second day, August 4th, Friday, you'll have at noon the Bat Cats, Great Bend versus Sandlot Tulsa. I don't know why that one's at noon, but it is. At 3 o'clock, you'll have the Seattle Blackfins versus the GPS Legends. I'm going to, be wanting to see a little of that one because I'm curious as to who these Blackfins are that have, stepped up in that league. I've never heard of them before. At 6 o'clock, you'll have the Hayes Larks versus Jayhawk number 3. So the third place team from the Jayhawk whatever league playing Hayes. And then at 8 o'clock that day, 8:30 on the 4th, you'll have Lone Star Kraken versus the Santa Barbara Foresters. So not a bad lineup for the last 2 games on the 4th with Hayes and Santa Barbara back-to-back. I think that'll be pretty good there. Kind of strange that Great Bend be playing at noon on Friday. And then that's the only part of the schedule they have out because depending on who wins or loses is how they match up after that because they don't want someone to be 0-2 any quicker than they have to playing a meaningless 0-2 versus 0-2 game or something like that. They're good about blending the mix to make sure that until that last game is played, everybody is pretty much still eligible to make the bracket.
That could be pretty warm starting at noon.
Have you been at, I'll tell you what, noon might not be the worst. I'm telling you that 3 o'clock, 3 and 6 o'clock are going to be brutal. Have you been up to the NBC tournament before?
I don't think so.
It's worth going. I love being at the NBC tournament. You do get to see some high quality baseball on a very nice facility. Even Eck is a very nice facility. All those years over at Lawrence Dumont, that was a nice facility. And you've been there, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Many games.
And it's just it's almost like a homecoming for BJ fans because there's a lot of BJ people lived in Liberal and moved around the state over the years, and they see the tournament and they go meet up with the Liberal folks at in Wichita. Yeah. So you have to make it one of these times.
Well, there's a lot of folks living in Wichita from Liberal. I could name off half a dozen right now that haven't lived in Wichita that long that came from here.
and I will look it up for you so that you'll have the information before you go, but I do know that there's usually a promotion with one of the local convenience stores that if you stop by there, you can get a discounted ticket, I think $5 ticket
Yeah,
to the game.
I want to say Quick Trip, but because I saw that the other day, but I'm not going to say 100% it's Quick Trip, but I know it's one of them.
Yeah, and I think you are right.
And ticket prices, even at that, I mean, I think $10 is what the general admission is, and $15 if you want a reserved seat. So, and X Stadium, I mean, I've been to minor league ballparks that aren't that nice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I say, it is a nice stadium. The Wichita State baseball team in the 80s was one of the best in the country, and they invested in that team, won a national championship. They've done well over time. Also want to remind you that you can go vote today in the city commission primary, and it's important that you do, because if you don't support your candidates, you can't be upset about who advances. If someone gets bounced out early and you say, well, I was going to support them, well, that's on you. You know, you get to pick these top 6. And I think some numbers I heard, preliminary numbers I've heard so far, it has not been they're not forming up the lines, let's just say that. It's been a kind of a slow turnout. Now, I know this is only one election. It doesn't involve the school. It doesn't involve anything else. But there are 10 candidates here that have, 8 for sure that have, been involved in the forums and so I just think it's important to participate with the vote.
Yeah, well, we've had examples of tied elections, had a flip decided by the flip of a coin, where if one more person would have went to vote, that would have made it by vote rather than the flip of a coin. We've had several examples of 2 or 3 times folks have won by 9 votes, something like that. So, every vote does count, and hopefully, by the time this is all over, we'll have a considerable amount. But, I think I'm going to go here one of these days, and when I'm over in that, get over there, why. But I've already talked to some that have already went and voted, and some were planning on voting yesterday. So anyway, but there's your opportunity. You don't have to wait in line. Walk right in, sign up, and do your thing, and then you're done. So.
Yeah, and you get to pick 3. You get to pick 3 of the 10.
You don't have to pick 3.
Yeah, you get to pick up to 3. You can pick 1. If there's one you really want to see,
Yeah.
you can just mark one name. But you got to vote. You got to vote, because we gotta have a hand in picking these. If you do wait until Tuesday, and I admit, I'm a day of a voter. I don't advance vote. I vote on the day of the election. So I'll be going in on Tuesday, casting my ballot, and then we'll be back with you Tuesday night right here, live, bringing you the results of the 6 qualifiers for the general election in November. So we've brought you 8 of them right here. The 8 that we were able to get in contact with, we brought them here, and you got to meet all 8. And if you haven't, you can just scroll down and find the different interviews with the 8 candidates and hear their views. We asked them all the same questions. You can compare them apples to apples, and see which one fits your mold. And that's how we move the community forward, is by picking people that you feel like represent the views and the visions and the leadership that you're looking for. And we've heard, I think that there is variety out there. I think from the 8 that we've been able to interview and the 8 that were at the forum, that I can't speak to the others because I just haven't had any contact with them, and they didn't participate in the forum, so I don't know where they are as far as their positions. But I know the 8, you know exactly where those guys and gal stand on the issues.
Yeah. Well, it'd take you about 20, 30 minutes. Most of those that came here, 1 or 2 of them would spend a little bit longer than that, but about 20, 30 minutes, and you can hear what they say and how they answered the questions, and then pick one or three.
Yep. And we definitely support the democratic process here at the Leader in Times and on the show. So it's your turn. It's kind of, if you ever watch Survivor, these people wanting to win that $1 million, right? But people get voted off.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the end, instead of getting voted off, now the vote is for who wins the money. And this is and so the power switches from the contestants to those voted off. Well, in this case, the power switches from the candidates to the people.
Yep.
This is how the people take control of their community. When you step out and you cast a vote for who you want to see in those seats, and this is your chance. For sure there's going to be one new commissioner because Chris Lindenbroker is not running again. So you've got at least one new one. You do have Jose Lara, who is running again. You got Ron Warren, who is running again. They're both on the ballot. Then you have 8 other people who are also on the ballot. 4 will be eliminated Tuesday, and their shot at being a city commissioner will come to an end. But for the other 6, then the campaign continues on until November, and so we look forward to that. The fun runs, the high school, the fun runs begin next week too. So you talk about the new school year being right on top of us. It is August 3rd, 4th, and 7th. So next Thursday, Friday, is that right? Is the 3rd?
Thursday is the 3rd, yeah.
Yeah. So Thursday, Friday, and then Monday at 5 p.m. So Thursday and Friday, the runs will be at 6 p.m. If you want to run with the Redskins, all the athletes and things like that, you just want to get out and be active, you can do that. You can jog with them. You just meet on the parking lot at the high school. You can bring your bicycle. I've done that. I've not run with them. I have ridden my bicycle. And you can follow in a car if you want. I've done that and had to get out and shoot some
That's where
pictures.
I'd be. I don't have a bicycle, and I'm way too old to run.
I've ridden with the coaches over the years in the golf carts to get video and other things and interview the coach. But that starts August 3rd at 6 p.m., August 4th at 6 p.m., which is Thursday and Friday, and then Monday at 5 p.m. And then the pep rally will be 5 p.m. or will be following the 5 p.m. fun run. And this will be the 2nd year for Coach Luters of the football team. He seems to be very excited about the quality of players he has, specifically on the line. The line has been kind of tough for us in recent years, but he feels like we have some bodies now that is going to really be the standout is on the line for the Redskins this year. So come on out, support that. And it's not just football. This is all fall athletes. So the volleyball team will be there. All the tennis team, the golf team, the cheerleaders, soccer, all the fall sports will be part of this. Matter of fact, all athletes all year will be coming to the kickoff fun runs because this is just to start the year in a fun way to bring everybody together. And so you don't want to miss out on that. Any other things, local guys, you know of that's happening coming
I
up?
think Seward County GOP is going to meet on the 3rd at 6:30. We're at the administration building. Also, they've got a raffle going on, kind of a fundraiser. We're going to give away a couple of rifles, pretty nice looking guns. Mm-hmm. And so, if you're interested in getting tickets, why? Contact the GOP, somebody around and then help them out.
August 3rd is kind of a big day. The BJs will be playing at the NBC tournament. The fun runs begin. And what time did you say that starts?
I think that's at 6:30. I think is what that said.
And then at 6:30, the GOP meeting.
Yep, 6:30.
We'll be doing that. Oh, and today, restaurant here in town, Rincon Latino, which is right beside Arby's. They kind of operate, it's like a Chipotle is the best thing I can say. If you've ever been to Chipotle, where I kind of call it the Subway for Mexican food because you get to pick what you want as you go along the line. But Rincon Latino is cutting their ribbon today and opening up their business. And we have discount coupons here at the office, at the front desk, 16 South Kansas. So if you want to go enjoy the first day of their business and save a little bit of money, come down here, get a discount coupon, and just pick one up. And we only have so many, so it's first come, first serve. And then today, head on down to Rincon Latino and try their new restaurant. They're did some remodeling and things like that, so you want to get in and check that out. And it's right next to Arby's, so you can't miss it. And that special thing goes all day if you'll come and get. It's only today though. You got to pick up that coupon and use it today. It's a 1-day coupon, so stop by here and head over there.
All right.
And I think you'll enjoy that.
We went out and watched the robot again last night.
Oh, did you?
Yep, that's a fun place, Mixteca, out where Mixteca used to be. Anyway, new restaurant out there, and if you haven't been out there, you need to go watch that. Take your kids. Last night we was out there, and there were several kids, and they were fascinated with that little robot. He'd bring your chips and dips and one thing and another, and it's pretty fun watching him. If somebody steps out in front of him, he'll put on the brakes and stop till they get out of the road, and then he'll go on. So anyway, something rather unique in the restaurant business around here. And I was looking online. I thought I might need one of them to bring my coffee in the morning if I could just find one that could make it. But
well, I do want to correct where he said it's a he. It's actually a she. Her name is Chabalita. And you want to see Chabalita bring your chips and dips right to your table. They're located at 2324 North Kansas. Great food too. If you eat their food, you're going to love it. And if you want to see a video, if you'll scroll on down, you'll see we got Chabalita there, about a minute long, bringing you your meal or your chips to a table. You see how she works.
She was busy last night, I'm telling you. She was running all over that place. So anyway, that's kind of fun. But yeah, there were some little kids there, and they was having a good time watching that. Oh,
she plays a little music on her way.
Yeah, plays music, the whole works. So anyway, kind of neat.
Yep. So you can get on out to Mixteca, 2324 North Kansas. And today, get over to Rincon Latino, which I guess means the Latin corner, because it's on the corner of that building. And get in there and come get a discount coupon and help them celebrate their opening day here today. Down there. So stop by here, 16 South Kansas, come to the front and say, hey, I want one of those discount coupons, and they'll give it to you as long as we have them, and save yourself a little money on the meal. Well, we got some more news and views we're going to bring to you right after this. Fall off the bone ribs, dripping with our signature barbecue sauce. Tender pulled pork and brisket smoked to perfection. All served with family recipe home-style sides. It's all waiting for you at the Brick House Barbecue and Brew. Open 7 days a week, your barbecue appetite can be satisfied anytime for lunch or dinner. Brick House serves full dinners, combos, sandwiches, and take-home packs. Enjoy a variety of brews on tap or a mixed drink. Shaken, not stirred. Give your taste buds a treat at Brick House Barbecue and Brew, 24 East 2nd Street in Liberal. Like us on Facebook and see our full menu at brickhouselk.com. Another local event we forgot to mention is Saturday. What we got going on Saturday?
That's like tomorrow, and that is Food Truck Saturday. We had one of those about, 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was quite a success. It was down on Main Street, and this one's going to be up in Light Park, up on the north side of Liberal. They've got more trucks coming. I think the word spread when they found out that a lot of those vendors sold out. So anyway, they're coming back, and there'll be some of the same ones, and then I think Damien said we had some new ones, so maybe up to 20 of them, and it sounded to me like just the other vendors, the knick-knack stuff, there was going to be quite the party in Light Park. So I think that starts at 11 o'clock Saturday morning and runs till maybe 9 o'clock, I think.
Yeah.
They've added on an hour, so.
There's
Anyway.
there's your Texas Twinkies.
Well, there you go. That's my bacon wrapped jalapenos. I got to go get about a dozen of those.
That looks pretty good. Heather tagged me on another one of the
That was Mitch's, by the way, with the Twinkies. I don't know where they got Twinkie out of that, but
a Texas Twinkie.
a Texas Twinkie.
Good Dogs coming, and I'm a Chicago dog fan. I love a Chicago dog, and so
Is that the one that's running the girl from Elkhart?
16 years old.
16
started her
years
own
old.
business.
So yeah, that ought to be a fun one.
Yeah, and she's got her own wagon. She's got a truck. She's
Barely old enough to
shaded.
drive.
Hey, she looks pretty smart. She's got like a shaded canopy over where you go to the window.
There you,
You
go.
know,
That'll
so-
probably be good.
Yeah, and so Chicago dog. I'll tell you whether I will be a I will be a food critic for that, because wherever I go, I do check out the Chicago dog and find out if it's a real Chicago dog or if it is a imposter.
Yep.
And
a
there's
dud.
certain things that you got to have. Celery salt's one of them. You don't see celery salt on a lot of stuff, but you do on a Chicago dog. Sport peppers. You got to have sport peppers.
Yep.
You don't put pickles. You put cucumbers on a Chicago dog, and it's got to be the neon green relish. Mustard. There's some things that make a Chicago dog. I will find out if this girl is legit.
You're going to find out whether it's an Elkhart dog or a Chicago
I
dog. then.
will know. You can't fool me. I know. And so we'll tell you. But I also am going to go over and get. I said this before. You better get there at 11 o'clock if you want something
Yeah.
that you for sure
Yeah, you
want.
better get in line, because the line don't get any shorter if you wait.
Yeah, and jump in, get that first thing you want, for sure. Don't say I'm going to come back at this afternoon.
Yeah,
I
because
tried
the
that.
line's going to be shorter. Well, you came back and they'd folded up.
The
till
line
they run
was
out of
short.
food. Yeah, it was short, all right.
There wasn't one, and that wagon was shut down because they were out. And gosh, I don't know, how do you keep up with that kind of demand? They were thinking 2,000 people and 5,700 showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So, that says something. And again, I want to give Damien Denmark credit.
Yeah.
He was taking a lot of heat. Oh, it'll never
Yeah.
work. Why are you doing that?
Yep.
And look, I know that may not be the solution to it's not the solution to our economic development. It's more like a carnival, bringing a carnival to town. Who doesn't want their kids to go enjoy the carnival? Not every night, but how many times do they come through town a year? 2 or 3, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
And our fair's not even going to have a carnival this year because of a scheduling conflict. So if people go out, it's like a food fair, and this girl's from Elkhart. But if just once in a while just have something that someone brings into town, I'm not against that. I don't want to hurt local business at all. We have to support our local folks for sure. And I do. I eat our local folks and I support them. But I think we can just ease up just a little bit. And I think you were at a local restaurant on food truck Saturday last
Yeah.
time, and it was packed.
Yeah, I went down to the brick house, and there wasn't any extra room in there. We had to kind of got back off over in the corner. That was the last 2 seats in there. So I don't think the food truck Saturday hurt their business any. And I think most of those businesses along there. I know the Second Chance store, they were busy. Had probably more folks than they do normally, just going in there and looking around. If you haven't been over there, you need to go over there and check that out too. There's lots of stuff. It's a secondhand store, and a little bit of everything in there, from treasures to trash to treasures, I guess you could say. But anyway, no, it's fun, you know. And I don't know, I don't know that once in a while I'd stop by a food truck, but not, you know, not that much. But there was just something about that one, you know, and I'm planning on going again. I think there's, you know, and they bring in a different variety of stuff. Gosh, you know, they come from all over the country. I think Damien was talking the other day from Oklahoma City and Dallas, and I don't remember where all, but there's a whole bunch of them, and there'll be about 20 of them to go down there and sample, and then, you know, it's a one-day thing from 9 to, or 11 to 9, I guess it is.
And at 9 o'clock, they're going to have
Yep.
the showing of
Jesus Revolution right there.
free. So
Yeah.
you can come out to the park, you can eat to your heart's content, and when you can't take it anymore, go sit down over by the big screen that they're going to be putting up.
Might want to bring your lawn chair, but and some mosquito repellent. Don't forget that, I think. But anyway, no, that's a good movie. I went to see that one. I only went to see that one once, but I wouldn't mind seeing it again. You know, I think I went to that Sound of Freedom twice, and you know, I've seen a guy the other day. I think he's seen it 7 times or something like that. Anyway, but you know, I did get more out of it the second time when I went. So, you know, but this Jesus Revolution is another very good movie, and you know, I could kind of relate, because I remember back when the hippies, you know, were driving the school buses and all that kind of thing around, and we kind of thought they was a strange group, but you know, that's one of those kind of things. But it turned into, you know, really a neat story in that in that production. So you might want to, if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it.
You ever let your hair grow out like that?
Oh no, I never could. One time I grew a beard, and that was kind of ridiculous. But anyway, all I know is when I shaved it off, I like froze to death for a while. 'Cause, you know, you could feel that wind a lot more. But anyway, that was back in the day when I was young and didn't have anything else to do, I guess.
So has your hair ever touched your collar even?
No. Well, I don't know. There's a time or two here. I noticed on this show it's got pretty long, but not yet. I never did grow a mullet or anything like that.
B, you ever let your hair out like that back in the 70s?
I can tell you that my senior year of high school, I probably got sent to the office more times by Mr. Johnson because my hair was touching my collar. So I'd try to wear T-shirts and get the lowest collar I could. But I finally learned that I just leave and then come back the next day and everything was good. But Mr. Johnson didn't like long hair at all. So, and I've had it even since then. I let my hair grow out a couple years ago that I had even got to have a ponytail. So I did it, done with it. So yeah, it's over.
I guess, you know, at my age, I'm lucky to have any hair at all.
Well, that's kind of me. I was just glad to have hair.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, you know, that was slightly before my time. I was born in 71, so that means all that stuff was already well underway.
Yep.
So that movie, though, I think really captures what people were, you know, whether it was the sex, drugs, whatever it was that they were getting into, they were just looking, searching. And this movie, I think, does a good job of showing, you know, what they were really searching for.
Yep.
And I encourage anybody to go out to Light Park. Saturday's is going to be a great day to be at Light Park. You're going to be able to food. I was just looking at one of these other booths that they have. This company is Sweet and Simple Designs, but they do freeze-dried candy. And, you know, so you got candy coming. That's kind of going to be like...
At the temperature it's going to be, I wonder how long it'll stay froze.
Tony's United Nation Pizza Company. You got pizza coming. You got the dogs. I can't name them all, but Chunky Chet's is rolling into Food Truck Saturday with a truckload of freshly baked cookies and ice cold milk cookies and milk.
Hey,
All right, ain't nothing matter
beat
of that.
You know, one Sticks, which is the that
Brazilian steakhouse.
Hawaiian one.
That's a Brazilian steakhouse, isn't it?
Oh, Sticks. Sticks was, yeah.
Noble House is the,
Yeah. So Sticks, they thanked them for being sold out at the last one, so they're going to be back. Noble House is coming here. Noble House is going to be here on Saturday, and then they're going to be in the next day. They're going to be in Wichita for 3 hours in Wichita. And Liberal, they say 11 a.m. till we run out, and then they'll head out. So
They probably got a plan where they run out about 5:30 or 6 so they can get to Wichita before dark.
and where they going to load back up and get going again the next day? They better hit the grocery store.
I thought Noble House had a brick and mortar in Wichita.
Oh, do they? Well, this says that their weekend aloha is Saturday, July 29th here, and then Sunday at Riverside Park. So they probably do maybe have a brick and mortar, but looks like they have a portable location too. It's just, you know, a chance to get out and try some different stuff. And, you know, Uncle Ed's going to be here with Tornadors, funnel cake, you know. So just get out there. I guarantee
Been wondering
you.
what Uncle Ed's been doing. Now I know.
There's going to be a lot of stuff going on, and we're just thankful that they're bringing it to Light Park for all of us to enjoy.
Yep.
Looking at national headlines, yesterday, the press secretary for the president was asked straight out if Hunter, you know, is convicted of any of these things, would the president pardon him? One-word answer. She said no. They tried to follow up, and she didn't want to follow up. She said, I answered it, and moved on to the next one. So, do you really believe that Hunter Biden? Let's say Joe loses re-election, but he's still president from November to January. Do you think in that window of time he would just go ahead and say, "Well, I don't have anything to lose"? Pardon his son.
You know, his truth-telling abilities aren't stellar by any means. So I guess I would be listed on that skeptical side of that. You know, I mean, of course they've got to get him charged and you know, convicted to start with. So then we'll kind of see. But I don't know. There's so many things that you know they've rigged and all of that to protect those. They're the the most protected bunch that I've ever seen. You know, all still there's fallout from the judge's ruling yesterday, or the day before yesterday on that on Hunter's plea deal, and a little more information coming out on that all the time, and now then there's continued hearings into January 6th and the cover-ups there, and if you paying any attention all about the border, and how so few folks are really crossing that are illegal, and it just goes on and on and on, and very little, if any, of it's true if you're really paying attention. So as far as him pardoning Hunter, I'd say we'll just wait until they convict him, and then we'll see how that goes.
Well, and Hunter is still in good standing with the D.C. Courts. I mean, he has felony charges that is being reduced to misdemeanors so that he can get off the hook, and yet he can still practice law in D.C. I mean, that.
Yeah, well, the judge told him to go get a job, so which I guess it's hard to believe a guy like that could be an attorney, but on the other hand, who knows?
Well, and how's a guy gainfully unemployed? I mean, if you can't hold a job, you have no expertise, and yet you served on the board of Burisma, you're some sort of consultant with the Chinese, all your money is coming from outside the country. I heard one congresswoman this morning say it's now what they've uncovered is up to $50 million that has funneled to the Biden family from
Oh,
outside sources.
Getting closer to that 100 then, aren't we?
How, I mean, I've said this before, you know, what is the magic number for the American people, for the Democrats? Forget the American people, the independents and the Republicans are already there. But what does it take for the Democrats to finally say, guys, look, we will not win another election if we keep defending this kind of behavior. You know, how do we sell this? We keep saying this is, you know, just MAGA. Really? It's just MAGA, $50 million that they have bank records for? How do we keep framing this? Do they continue to go with the lies, or do they eventually, you know, decide we've got to cut bait here?
Well, you know, this morning on the way down here, I was listening to a so-called reporter. You know, there wasn't any evidence of any of this money that had been obtained illegally and all of that kind of stuff. And I got really, really close to mashing the button on the radio and changing the station just because, you know, but there's still folks out there spewing that there's nothing wrong about this, that they made all this money legally, and, you know, it's as if the bank records don't exist. You know, but I think if you're paying attention, there's a mountain of evidence that is pretty clear. You know, and I say let's take it to the jury and let the jury decide. You know, but for me, I just think that there's a mountain of evidence that says, yeah, that these guys are in cahoots, and they're you know, they're making money hand over fist at it and dividing it up. If you've got, why would you have 15 or 20 shell companies, or a minimum of 20 anyway? That's what they're recognizing right now. But, you know, and no reporting of where the money came from, other than there was just a, you know, $1 million deposit here, or you know, a $5 million deposit there that went into one bank account or went into the attorney's bank account. What they do for that money, you know, what kind of service did they provide, you know, and those kind of things. You know, it just goes on and on and on. And I'll guarantee you, if that was anybody in liberal Kansas tried that, they'd been in the jailhouse a long time ago. At least, at a minimum, been investigated and put on trial. But for this bunch, they seem to be able to evade that, and it's because they have converted the Department of Justice into, you know, a protection racket for themselves. And that's what happens when you get folks, you know, that have been in office for 50 years, you know, like Joe. You know, this morning I watched a video, I think I seen it the first time last night, it was Dianne Feinstein. And I think they were getting ready to vote on the military appropriations bill. And so they called on her for her vote. All she's had to say is yay or nay. And she started reading off this piece of paper about, well, this money went there and that money went there, and they was going to raise this $29 million. And finally one of the aides came along and said, say aye. Oh, she reared back in her chair and said, aye. And so, you know, but that's where we're at. I mean, Mitch yesterday, you know, or day before, froze while he was at the podium giving a little speech, just locked up, like shut down. You know, all of those folks are way past their retirement and their ability to continue to function. And yet we continue on putting them right back in office. You know, I mean, you can name a bunch of them like that are 80, 85 years old. Of course, I don't know, somebody said, well, look at Grassley. Well, yeah, but Grassley, you know, he's 86, but he's still very functional, very active, and seems to have all of his senses about him. But a lot of them don't. I mean, if you watch Joe, he wanders around off in the stage trying to figure out where the stairs are, where a door to go through or something. But that's who's leading this country. you know, that's really scary if you have that kind of leadership in charge.
And that's why there's more questions being asked. And even on CNN, when they were talking about the UFO situation, then they tried to thread in a question about Hunter Biden, and the reporter for CNN didn't like the response, so she abruptly ended the interview. It was CNN's Sarah Sidner. I don't know if you saw this, but Tim Burchett was on the show to talk about, you know, the testimony, which I think we ought to address at some point here, but the whistleblower who says that there's UFOs and evidence of it and all this, and that's getting to be more and more common, and both sides of the aisle seem to be interested in this. But she decided to take this towards, you know, that there's no proof that Joe Biden was involved. See, the media has decided Hunter can bite it, but as long as we can deflect this from Joe, we're okay. So they're saying, you know, whatever they're claiming, even though they're just claims, none of the claims even involve Joe Biden, which people are saying that's an absolute joke. The WhatsApp texts show that he said, I'm sitting here with Dad, and we're wanting to know where the check is, and you know what, someone better be calling me back soon, or else you're going to find out just what a problem that's going to be. So he's shaking them down. But so they're talking to this Sidner, and so she says, so he says, I get it. You've got your base. I've got mine, Burchett said. And Sidner on CNN said, I don't have a base. I'm a journalist. He said, you work for CNN. Let's be honest. You're left wing. And she says, I'm not. You don't know my politics. And so she says, yeah, well, thanks for coming on. And let's go to commercial. Basically just cut it because he was just pointing out the truth about CNN. Who doesn't know that?
Yep.
Who doesn't know that you're not going to get a straight shot from CNN? Go to their website today. Does it say anything about the Hunter Biden case other than that, oh, it's just a delay. This deal will still go through. You know, does it say anything about, you know, anything other than, oh, Trump's facing more charges? You know, he is facing more charges. One thing they're not mentioning is that his jury is coming from counties that heavily voted for him. You know, so I think in this case, the one in Florida, he'll get a fair shake there. I can't say the same for New York or if any charges are ever made in D.C.
Well, they're putting up barricades in Georgia right now in Fulton County. I see this morning putting up barricades in anticipation for more charges being brought against him in Fulton County, Georgia for election interference. So we'll see.
Yeah, so she said, you don't know my politics. He says, nobody believes that, ma'am. She says, thank you for coming on. And that was it. But, you know.
Kill a messenger, you know.
You know, you look at, you look at these things with Hunter, and how is it, you know, I wonder how many more charges they just have sitting in their pocket. So it looks like everything was starting to swirl around Hunter, right? The news cycle was going to Hunter. So what do we have? 3 more charges added to Trump.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Do people really believe that that's not just a distraction?
Well, you know, I think if you watch the polls and the support that continues to grow for Trump every time they file more of these charges, to me that says that there's a lot more people waking up as to what's really going on here than they would like you to believe. You know, even I think RFK is taking some heat because he's called for a real investigation into the Biden's foreign business schemes, and he is a growing concern, I think, for the Democrat Party because he's running on the Democrat ticket for president, and he started out at about 20%, and I think now then. Some polls showing him up 30, maybe a little more, but you know he's. And I don't know that all his ideas are too great, but at least he realizes something's going on, and so he thinks that they ought to have an investigation into the Biden's foreign business schemes, not deals, but schemes. And of course, he's taking a lot of heat for that because we can't have that. You know, it's rather interesting, but at least he's honest enough to say, yeah. And I think it does. I think a majority of folks would agree with that it needs to be investigated. If he hadn't done anything wrong, great. But let's stop the opportunity for more questions to, like, the phone calls and that kind of stuff. Let's take a serious look at that and determine, we're smart enough to do that. We've done that for 200 years probably. And, the guilty were charged and the innocent were turned loose. But in this particular deal, we don't want to get close to that, because I think everybody knows the outcome of what a real investigation is going to be.
So B, when you look at this, that all this attention, they expected the Hunter thing to just be a 30-minute deal. It ended up being a 3-hour deal, and the deal fell apart. Now they have to go back and rework it to try to see if they can somehow fool the court into accepting the deal and try to give this guy blanket immunity on everything and anything he's ever done or will do. And then all of a sudden you get 3 more charges thrown at Trump and one of Trump's employees at Mar-a-Lago, facing 100 and some years for having documents in a secured presidential compound. Another guy cheats on his taxes, working with foreign agents, and they're trying to get him off scot-free. But distraction or not?
Oh, it's definitely a distraction. Every time something comes up about one of the Bidens, there's always a new charge or a new thing that comes up about Trump that they want to keep people distracted to make sure that everything stays on the Trump side and nothing looks like anything's going wrong with the Bidens. And it's just smoke and mirrors is all they're trying to do, and trying to fool the people. And I think the people are getting smarter. I think people are wising up to the fact that there's a lot of fishy stuff going on in the White House and in the Biden family. And I think people are finally waking up to all that. So I look to see a whole lot more coming against the Bidens. And I think, like Jim, look at the polls. I mean, every time something's said about Trump, his numbers go up. So I think people are. It's not that they want Trump, but I think that's just a matter of they don't want the Bidens. And then I think that's where America is looking at today. We got to change some system. We got to change our system. We got to change some folks out. So I like the fact that they're doing the distraction, because people are waking up.
Well, and you go back 4 years ago, and the media had everyone convinced to just, if you're not for Biden, just be against Trump, and we're okay with that. Just vote against Trump. Well, it looks like the rematch is going to be on. I don't see any way around it. I think Trump's going to be the Republican nominee. I think Biden's going to be the Democratic nominee. So the rematch is on, whether people are excited about that or not. But has the tide turned where people say, look, I'll take anybody over Biden right now. This was supposed to be the squeaky clean, restoring order, bringing adults back to the White House approach and all that. How has that lived up to its expectations? I don't know anyone who would say that's true. So where's that middle of the road voter, the person who doesn't like to get involved in politics, tries to stay out of all of that, looking at the lesser of two evils here, and the media constantly throwing Trump under the bus, but they can't escape the $50 million now accusations. It involves the Biden family. The Hunter stuff is just out there so much you can't run from it. I mean, it's just right there in front of you. Where do you think the middle of the road voter is on this?
Well, I would hope that they're preparing to go vote. But the scary part is that they get so fed up with what's going on that they just stay home and they don't go vote. And you have to get out and vote to cure the problem. That's it. And it has to be massive numbers. So if you're one of them that's thinking about, well, I think I'll just stay home this time because I'm fed up with the whole works, that's not the thing to do. The thing to do is to get out there and voice your opinion, although it might be one 80, 90 million, it takes one vote at a time to get that 80, 90 million. And so don't think that you can just sit at home and all these problems will go away, because they're only going to get worse if the people don't stand up. We're the ones that's really in charge, or we used to be anyway, of our federal government. We say what needs to happen and what don't, but right now it's not that way. So, if you're thinking about staying at home just because you're fed up, don't do that. I don't care whether it's this election right now that's going on in Liberal with the city commission, or whether it's the coming races, and for state and federal offices. It's just as important to vote in any one of those as it is all of them. So, get out there and do your thing. But I don't know. I hope that a lot of these things that are going on will wake the general public up, and because to me it's just common sense. And there's so much of this that isn't common sense. That we see today. Another thing I seen was that where the Biden administration refused to pay the transportation charges and all of the costs for a fallen soldier to be buried in Arlington, and it ended up costing the family $60,000 to get their daughter transported and placed in Arlington. But I don't know exactly what the details were, but the headline certainly caught my attention. It was $60,000 that they had to dig up out of their own pocket so they could transport her to Arlington Cemetery. And she was actually killed while, working to support and the safety and security of we the people. And I don't know that that's, happened before, but why would, whoever's responsible for that, probably the Defense Department, why would they refuse to pay that cost and that expense? They've got, we've got millions of those folks in those cemeteries, and then to make a family pay for it after the service they provided and then that individual gave her life for it. Why would you do something like that? But that's the mentality of this administration. Anything that favors Americans and support, they don't support that. And it's a sad situation. So get out and vote. Don't stay at home and, we'll let somebody else vote.
Because they will. And
Certainly will, and you'll have Dianne Feinstein and Mitch McConnell and all of those folks that don't know where they're at right back in office. But I do disagree with you on Joe running again, though. I keep hearing more and more talk about Michelle getting in the race. I heard John Fredericks this morning talking about that, and some guy that he knows had done a little background check on her and said she, what she claims to have came from, a very poor family and growing up on the south side of Chicago. Said actually it was the southeast side of Chicago, which is very wealthy. And, so she's not necessarily what she portrays, that, not such a hard life at all. And she went to Harvard and all of those kind of things. So said, don't let them kid you. But anyway, I keep hearing more and more talk about Michelle being the actual candidate when it comes right down to it after they get rid of Joe. So, don't know. We'll just see. Thought I'd throw that out there. So it's either Michelle or Joe. Which one you think?
Well, I don't know if I'd say, what about?
Could be Gavin.
Yeah, I was going
Yeah.
to say, what about Newsom?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the mix,
Yep.
and so who knows? Who knows who will actually be?
I think one thing we can be pretty sure of, it's not going to be RFK unless something really changes, because in their opinion, he doesn't heal well. He kind of goes his own way.
Well, and I heard DeSantis, I didn't see which office, but he said that he believes he would have a place for
RFK.
RFK in his administration, that there would be a place for him to fit in.
Yeah.
So what do you think about him working, saying that he would work him in?
Well, I don't know, and I mean, he's got some, he's done his research. He's no dummy by any means. He's a pretty sharp individual. There's just some of his policies that, I don't necessarily agree with, but I mean, he's certainly not the worst that they can come up with by any means, in my opinion. I think, then there could be some space in there that he could possibly serve as an ambassador or something. I don't know. That's up to whoever wins the Republican nomination, and should they win the presidency, well, that's kind of up for those guys to decide. But I wouldn't throw him out exactly, because he's got questions, serious questions about what's really going on in the world, about vaccines, about he believes there was a cover-up in his uncle's assassination in Dallas. He's got several good points, and they're questions that I think the American people are very interested in. So there possibly could be some spot to help bring some of that stuff to be available and to be seen. The consequences of whatever it was, and how we arrived at it. So I don't know, but there could be a spot. Who knows?
And so, RFK Jr., he's kind of been thrown under the bus by his own party. Matter of fact, when you look at his polling, he polls better with Republicans and independents than he polls within the Democratic Party. He's obviously one for free speech, which seems like that's gone the way of the dinosaur on the other side of the fence. But what do you think about finding a way to work him in, and if there were a Republican administration?
I've kind of followed a little bit about RFK here this year, and I like some of the things he says, and I think he would definitely be a fit in any government as an official somewhere. That he's got brains, he understands the politics, definitely got the family name. So I think there's definitely a way that it could be used and utilized in a great way in this country. So it's just a sad thing that the Democrats have kind of shunned him, because he's got some good ideas. So,
well, I've been tuning in to some of the hearings where RFK has spoken on the freedom of speech. They brought in the ACLU, and Jim Jordan, I gotta give that guy some credit, that he said ACLU, he asked the ACLU, do you remember when the ACLU used to care about freedom of speech? When even some horrible things were said, terrible things, and the ACLU defended them, because it wasn't about what was said, it was about does someone have the right to say it? Now the ACLU is jumping in board with the Democrats to limit speech. When did that happen? And he asked RFK, so you had the ACLU person sitting there, and RFK sitting there, and he asked RFK, do you remember that ACLU? And they're sitting right there, and he's just hammering them to ask, does RFK remember when the ACLU used to care about free speech? And again, I agree with RFK on this, that the marketplace of ideas cannot be censored. It doesn't matter what ideas are out there, that you have to allow all ideas in a free, that's what separates us from literally the rest of the world.
Yep.
And they're not all good ideas, but that we can tolerate and allow all ideas. But we don't say there is, and this fear of the pandemic, was where a lot of this stuff, where they took advantage of that to say, you can't speak, you can't say that, you can't,
Sure.
That's dangerous. Well, anyone who doesn't like your point of view will say it's dangerous. Capitalism. Oh, capitalism is dangerous. They can get to that. So don't tell me what's dangerous. Tell me your counter to it. But both ideas get presented. You don't say, you can say that, but you can't say that. When you get to that, This whole experiment is already over. We have to have an intellectual discourse of views out there. And the founders knew that. The founders knew that more than anything, because, you know, when they said maybe King's isn't, maybe that's not the best system moving forward, and they knew that that would get your press bashed in, that would get you jailed, you know, and they said, well, how do we even consider these things if they don't even let us speak? See, we were able to step away from that and come to a new place on the planet and have open dialogue. And then they started talking about maybe we ought to do this thing on our own. And now you have a revolution on your hands. Crowns don't like revolutions. It never
Yeah,
works out well
that's
for them,
true.
almost always.
Yeah.
But look, the whole basis of this was that you could challenge the status quo idea. You know, status quo language doesn't need protected. It's when you challenge the status quo that needs protected. And now I think they've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that this administration colluded with social media to shut down free speech.
Yeah. Well, just, you know, as an example, look what they did for the COVID vaccine, and, you know, some of the injuries that were reported, you know, shortly after some folks got vaccinated, you know, but they wouldn't allow anybody to talk about that. You know, they wouldn't allow anybody to talk about ivermectin. They wouldn't, you know, allow a lot of that stuff. But the data was showing that, hey, there's some potential here for harm, and why don't we, you know, take a look at it? But we weren't allowed to talk about that. You know, I think Robert Malone, Dr. Malone, and Dr. McCullough, you know, there was a whole host of those folks that had serious questions about it, but, you know, they were silenced, you know, for some reason. You don't ask questions about this, you know. But now then, you know, we're beginning to see more and more every day of, you know, I don't know whether, you know, that had any effect on Mitch McConnell the other day or not. It possibly could. I don't know whether he had vaccine or not, but, you know, I mean, I know some folks that here in Liberal that believe that, you know, their current health condition is, you know, perhaps being affected by that vaccine because they had 2 or 3 shots. You know, I don't think they know for sure, but it's certainly a question in their mind. But up until a point, you know, that voice was silenced, and it was intentional. Don't you dare talk about that. You know, you can't say that. And that's not the way, you know, the founding fathers, you know, believed that. You know, the discussion is important, and, you know, may the best man win. But, you know, when you're not allowed to talk about those kind of things, you have no chance to win. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at right now, I think, on a lot of this stuff. But there are some very, very determined people to get the truth out, and RFK is one of them, and he keeps speaking that. And I think, well, his poll numbers have grown from 20 to 30-some% now, so apparently he's convincing a few people about, you know, what he believes, and, you know, and the questions they are asking is the right questions. Otherwise, his poll numbers would be going in the other direction.
You have to be able to state your case, no matter how popular, and you have to be able to say that drug, don't get the shot if you feel that way. And they were shutting that down, and they were saying that's dangerous. And
you got to get it, or you're going to die.
Now we know the whole thing, absolute farce. I can't believe that people don't talk about that more and more.
But look at the money was made. Woo!
And they've even discontinued the first shot. It's not even the same shot anymore. And that just kind of happened, and nobody really paid any attention to that. And is this going to just cakewalk through? I mean, I got to think that in the presidential debates, this stuff has to come up. The media can't continue to keep this buried.
Well, there's so much opportunity. It's not only the vaccines, it's the open borders, it's the, you know, the questionable, you know, bank accounts and the money transfers. It's, you know, inflation, it's money printing. You just pick something. I mean, the subject is out there, and you know, I mean, the opportunity is so great for the, you know, for the, I guess you could say the Republican side. Now, what they do with it, and if they can capitalize on it, it's a different thing, because they have a, you know, a real bad habit of stumbling and fumbling and, you know, losing the ball about, you know, midway. But, you know, to me, that opportunity is out there, and it is so great to, you know, bring these things up in the discussion on anything, you know, the open borders. And, you know, you see, you know, places like New York that are, you know, underwater because there's so many folks there that don't belong there, probably, that came across the border illegal. You got San Francisco, you got Chicago, you got Philadelphia, you know, St. Louis. I mean, you know, all of the bigger cities, and now then it's spilling over into the littler cities. And it's all, you know, and then they come out and tell you, well, we've got them well protected. There's not that many coming across. Well, it's because they've developed apps on their phone that if you fill that out, then you come across legally, according to some folks, you know. So I think there's ample opportunity for the Republicans if they don't fumble the ball.
So, B, do you see them ever bringing back up how this COVID was handled? You know, and you look at both of them; they both had a hand in it. You know, Trump started warp speed to develop a vaccine, and then it just got developed right after the loss of the 2020 election, and then the distribution, and then the requirements, the mandates came after that with the Biden administration. So do you think any of this stuff comes back? I mean, we don't even talk about it anymore. I mean, we don't even know how many cases there are. We don't know who has it. We don't know if the hospital has any COVID cases, or it's like this was supposed to be the event of our lifetime. Our kids are now screwed up from the missing the school and all the stuff that happened with it. And now you go to ball games, you rub shoulders with people, you stand in line. There is not one permanent change that I know of in society because COVID came and went. You know of any?
No, not really.
So B, I mean, will there ever be anyone held accountable for the generational damage that was done by the reaction to, not because of, a pandemic?
You know, like you said, they're not talking about it, so the consequences, you know, they're not going to have any in the future other than people that are having physical problems that suffer because of the shots and different things. That's the only different thing that I've seen is the results of it are bad for the people health-wise, and I think it's almost like they was trying to get rid of people. So not that they were trying to cure them, they were trying to get rid of them. That's what it appears to me, and I think that's why you don't hear much about it anymore, because they're afraid to talk about it because of the consequences we've had.
Yeah, and I don't see. I know we have other topics to talk about. You can't just stay on COVID forever, but it's like it's just been completely erased from history, almost like nothing to see here. Move on, and I just think that is a big mistake if we don't learn the lessons of COVID. Of this is what happens when you overreact. What are we talking about today? The restriction of free speech. And what did that have to do with? COVID. You know, the financial problems that we have now with the inflation through the roof and all that. What does that relate back to? COVID. You know, just look at the things facing the country today and tell me that somehow or another that they didn't have some tie back or some string. You know, everyone talked about the ARPA money and this and that. Yeah. What does that tie back to?
Well, look at the billions and, you know, possibly trillion or two that were, you know, I think, well, I heard a number the other day, I think it was $2 trillion is what they figured that they put out for, you know, for COVID. You know, and of course we printed it or borrowed it or whatever all of the, you know, the things are, but that's coming back to haunt us now. And they're still advertising on there, you know, if you were shut down, there's still money available all of that, to me, send that money back to the feds and be done with it. But there's a mentality out there that, oh, there's a grant and we gotta keep that, because if we send it back, somebody else will get it.
Right.
Well, I say let somebody else get it, because the strings attached to that are probably going to entangle you like a spider web one of these days, and you're not going to be able to get loose. But that's my very biased opinion on grants and those kind of things. I just you can't trust those, that they're all for a good purpose, other than control. There's nothing better than accepting a grant and abiding by their rules and regulations.
So I want to finish up with this topic. I mean, I know it seems like it's out there, but now they're having congressional hearings on it, and it seems like they're taking this stuff more seriously. But the UFO discussions, the whistleblowers that have come out on that, and Grush, one of the whistleblowers yesterday, said the government absolutely has in its possession technology foreign to this planet and biologics of non-human origins since the 1930s, and knows the exact locations where they're being held. He couldn't divulge specifics in open forum because there's an open whistleblower reprisal program case against him. And then a former F-18 pilot, in his encounters, he said that they encountered something that was far superior to anything we had at the time, have today, or are looking to develop in the next decade. And so, you're hearing more and more about this. We haven't seen any of the evidence, but the whistleblowers are now coming out. I think the enhancements we've had in video in the last decade have really helped, because everyone's got a camera now, and nothing gets by without being recorded, and
that's right.
You see certain things, but I mean, do you think this is all just a bunch of hocus pocus? You think there's any truth to it? Where do you feel about these discussions about? And they came up with a new term. I'm going to try to see what UAPs instead of UFOs. While you're discussing this, I'll see if I can find that. But where are you at on the discussion of alien technology and alien life and its interactions with Earth?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's always been, remember Roswell, I guess, is, to start with. And there's always been questions, and Roswell isn't that far from here. But there was always questions about, were there aliens found at that crash site, or was there even such a site, or we have never been able to determine. Some folks said that they actually seen the remains of that, but so it kind of, I think all this kind of builds on that. But the folks in charge were able to put that away, kind of like the JFK assassination. They were able to put that information away for 50, 60 years. I don't remember how long it's been, but I remember that was a very popular subject about, that had to be crazy and all that. But was it really? I don't know. And now then you've got these hearings, and I watched a little bit of that testimony from that old boy, and there was so much that he couldn't really answer factually because of certain limitations and one thing or other. But I don't know. It's very possible. Who knows? I mean, who knows out there what's out there? 10,000 miles or 10 million miles or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I'm certainly saying no. There's nothing possible. That is impossible. I don't know. But I'm willing to and open to the discussion. I don't know. Hey, maybe I always heard about them ships flying down here and picking you up and taking you for your ride. So, maybe so. I don't know.
Well, UAP stands for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. So, it's a fancy way of saying we don't know what that thing is, and it's never happened before. But B, where you fall.
Caused by the stars and the moon.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
B, where you fall on the line of, are they out there?
Well, I can say it, I felt like I've seen strange objects in the sky. I mean, definitely. I've never seen an alien, other than an illegal one. But so, it's one of those things that growing up, I always believed there could be, but I can't say that I've ever seen one, so I can't prove it. So who knows? I mean, I still believe God created everything, so in that side of it, I don't know that there would be, but not say that He didn't create another dimension. So who knows? It's one of those things been debated my entire life. I've heard people talk about it one way and talk about it another way. So there could be, and maybe they're not, but there could be creatures among us. I did see Men in Black, so hey, there's a possibility.
My favorite line of that was he was listening to an Elvis song and he said, he's dead, right? He said, he is not dead, he just went home.
Just went home.
And so,
There you go.
but it's interesting that they're having the discussions. It's rising to this national level now that it's happening in the halls of Congress. We've all watched, you talk about Men in Black, there's Star Trek, Star Wars, just this, look forward of that someday we would meet people in other places and things like that. Whether we're the ones to initiate that contact or whether someone else might be, if there is such a thing,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yep.
You talk about Voyager, we sent out a satellite to just search, and it's amazing. That thing went out in the 70s, and we're still getting data back from that. It was supposed to have been incapable by now. And it finally got completely out of our solar system and is flying beyond. And still sends back some data. It's amazing that, for one, you can overcome the distance, but two, that we can still record that and receive that. And that the thing isn't just, what kind of battery does that thing have?
Oh, it must be a good one.
I'd like to have that, what technology we have in the 70s that none of us know about that can power a satellite that's beyond our solar system and it's still going.
Maybe it was hijacked by one of those aliens that are controlling it now. Who knows?
We've put things on the surface of Mars, so we've traveled
Been to the moon.
interplanetarily on the moon.
Yeah.
And, maybe we're just at the footsteps of it, but it's interesting to see the discussion, see where they're going to end up going. I've also thought we also have more drones and other things than we've ever had in the history of mankind. Is some of this stuff just being misidentified?
Well, that's always a possibility. I always figured military's got things that we never dreamed possible, flying saucers and all that kind of stuff. And when we were in D.C. with the tractor explorer back in '79, there was a wealth of those things, that old military stuff that had been kind of designed and put away, that flying saucers to, all kinds of different things in some of those museums back there. So, who knows? I don't know, but I certainly wouldn't say no, absolutely not. That ain't possible. And then listening to that guy the other day, he seemed to believe in what he'd seen and heard. So who knows?
I want you to know, if you're watching this on Facebook, I've attached on the comment section the form that you can fill out for the KDOT plans. You can pick your favorite one. There's two choices. You can pick your favorite corridor, and we're recommending Corridor 2A. And you can also pick your favorite intersection plan. We recommend Plan 4 on that. So 2A and 4 is what we recommend, but you can see and look at each one and decide what you like. We've evaluated them. We've looked at them. I think we've came to agreement on those two plans.
Yep.
And
well,
so,
they're the least disruptive, and I think, as far as the intersection out there, and I'm still hearing, concerns about a roundabout. Some folks just don't understand how you can get that many trucks through that, and I understand that. But, I did visit with somebody last night, and they said, well, go to Branson quite a bit, and they've got those 2 or 3 of them between here and Branson, and I've been around them. And they said, you know, truck traffic going around those don't seem to slow traffic much at all. You have to slow down, sure, but you know, they understood, you know, that yeah, they'll work just fine with truck traffic, and KDOT's got the ability to, you know, and the experience of how, you know, how those work, how well they work, how efficient they work. And so, you know, they're not going to come out here and put something in there that you can barely get a, you know, a go-kart around. It's going to be big enough to accommodate about anything that goes around there.
And there may be some things that get bought out around that corner to make that happen.
Sure.
But that's a lot less disruptive than them coming in with
Yeah.
those SRAPs, taking out entire streets of businesses.
Well, and you know, and then the purchase of the real estate to go along with it, you know, is a considerable amount more than, you know, what we think here anyway is the least disruptive and probably a, you know, most efficient and effective way to deal with what we got out there now.
So make sure you have your voice heard on that as well. Same as going to vote for the city commission candidates. Make sure you get in your opinion on which roadway you'd like to see, how you'd like to see it come in. And that's what KDOT needs. That kind of input will help them immensely on helping make a decision what works for this community. And you know, what works for us may not work for somewhere else. But it's got to be something that I'm glad KDOT's at least willing to take some input. They're not just coming in and saying, we're the state, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, at least they're, you know, they've been interested, and that's what I like about, you know, the current KDOT, you know, for the past, 3, 4, 5 years. They've actually came out here and listened to the people. I've discussed that before a little bit, but, you know, it started out, I think probably the first one that I was really involved in was in Garden City, and they had everybody that wanted to speak, you know, about what they thought best for some improvements to 83 Highway, you know, between Lerville and Garden, and then I think probably from Garden to 50 Highway from Garden to Dodge, you know, but they actually came out and listened and took notes, and as a result we've seen some great improvements along the years. You know, they're still working on North 83 out here, not too far north of Liberal, but, you know, I certainly appreciate KDOT taking and making the effort to come out and listen to the folks that use those intersections and those highways every day. You know, and I think most of us have a pretty good idea about what needs to be, what you'd like to see, and all of that. So this is your opportunity to get involved and actually sit down and, you know, you don't have to send them any more than, you know, whatever the number of the designs are, I guess, if you don't want to, you know, say anything, but, you know, perhaps a little explanation along the way wouldn't hurt. But it's, you know, it's just like contacting your representative and your senator. You know, call them up and tell them what you think, because if not, they're going to have to guess, and they might guess wrong.
So before we head off here, B, any thoughts on, you know, we put the link on here so people can have their voice heard. Anything on the intersection in the corridor?
I've been looking at that to the last several days, and I think the best thing I've seen is especially with the intersection is a roundabout. You know, I've been through so many in the last couple of weeks that I've realized that they're a good thing. They definitely don't disrupt traffic at all, and you know, people just got to get used to the fact that, hey, it's a good idea. Once you've been through one a couple of times, it's pretty simple to utilize. So
Yep.
I love the idea, I love the plans, and so it's good to see that that's happening, or going to happen, hopefully. Also, you talk about traffic. You know, people need to realize here in the next couple of days that the SpaceX is going to be coming out this way, so it's going to be real close to Liberal. I think between now and August 1st. So be on the lookout for slow-moving traffic and big trucks.
I want to point out, yesterday broke the streak of 4 days in a row of over 100. We did not get to 100 yesterday.
Only 99?
It was like 98.
Oh, well, shoot.
But that means it didn't get to 100, so that starts the streak over. We'll see if we get there today. It is projected, so we want to bring you a squeaky clean car wash weather report heading into the weekend. Today's going to be sunny and hot with a high near 101. Southwest wind around 11 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 72. South wind 8 to 11 miles per hour. Saturday, sunny and hot with a high near 103. South-southwest wind 8 to 11 miles per hour, becoming north-northeast in the afternoon. Saturday night, partly cloudy with a low around 72. South wind 9 to 11 miles per hour. On Sunday, it's going to be mostly sunny with a high near 99. South-southwest wind 8 to 11 miles per hour. And Sunday night, partly cloudy with a low around 72. Looking ahead to the rest of your week, Monday, sunny 99. Tuesday, sunny 101. Wednesday, sunny and 100. Wednesday, isolated showers
Come on Wednesday.
in the evening, and Thursday, isolated showers with a high near 96. So those chances are only 20% at this point, but we'll keep our eye on it.
We can pray and make that better.
Clouds don't hurt either.
No, that's
Even
right.
if we don't get rain, the clouds help
They help.
a little bit. So that's the news and views you can use on Friday, July 28, 2023. Don't forget, a lot of things happening. BJ's tonight, food trucks tomorrow, election on Tuesday, fun runs, BJ's at the NBC. Don't tell us there's nothing to do in Liberal. Oh, and don't forget, free coupons here, Rincon Latino. Go get a coupon and get discounts at their grand opening today, which is kind of like a Chipotle, as how it's served. So you might want to go check that out. So that's all there is for today. We'll be back with you on Monday at 7:30. Don't forget we're on YouTube now, so you can watch this on your television instead of just on your computer or your phone. You can watch it now on your smart TV. Just go to Leader and Times. You'll find our channel, and hey, this will be the first one. But from now on, they'll all be
There you go.
cataloged on there for you to watch. So you'll be able to go back and watch if you miss anything you want to catch up. So we'll see you on Monday at 7:30. Until then, this is Earl with the Leader and Times with Jim Rice, B. Simon, saying when you live in Liberal,
Or Coolidge, Kansas.
there's no place like home. Have a great day, everybody.